A world painted by fear. People don't give much thought to the labeling of emotion. But if you come from like a disturbed environment, the ability to label emotion is very important. Now, I am not very good at this. Everything tends to dwell between fear and anger. Um, Outside of that, there is like the bond in which I might share with a female, which is like a very juvenile sense of like love and like everything that comes with that. But outside of that, um, there's pretty much only anger and fear. And one of the ways I have found to like demonstrate the need to be able to label emotions correctly. For most of my life, I identified anticipation as fear. So anytime I would feel anticipation, I would label that as fear. And that's what it is. But that's not what it is. What I am feeling is not fear. But because I'm labeling it as fear, that is how it manifests. So, like something that doesn't have to be fear, I label as fear, and therefore it's fear. Now, this is a weird thing because it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Um, like if something is like, then that's what it should be. But I suppose because of, what can I call it, conditioning in abusive and negative environment, large swaths of things just get erased and they don't exist. In an example, the other day I'm at work and I'm having a massive panic attack. I mean, like, the imminence of certain death is on me. Like, I am going to die. This is the end. Um, and I happen to be in the bathroom and I don't look in mirrors. Like, I hate mirrors. I hate seeing my reflection. I force myself to do it, but I will try to avoid it. And I happen to be standing in front of a mirror and I saw myself and it's like, wow, you don't let on a thing. Like you could not tell anything is wrong with me. Like you could not tell I was upset. Like even my pulse is controlled. And I mean I do that. I control my breathing all the time. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of crazy. Like a normal human being would be having like a response. Like they'd be the immediate thing that jumps to my mind is they would go to other people for some kind of help. No. Why would I let people know I'm in a weakened condition? That just increases the likelihood that they'll attack me. Like, that's what my head reads that situation as. Why would I ever let on that I am sick or hurt in some way? Like, all that does is increase the likelihood that someone is going to attack me. This is an unhealthy attitude. Like, this is an unhealthy view on things. But, that's why the title, the world is painted by fear. Everything comes back to fear and anger. And, like, that's what I'm comfortable with, what I know how to deal with, and I suppose what I can do something about. Um, like, if I'm angry, I can take action. I'm mad. But then like with women, I have no ability to even get mad. So like, because mad to me just means violence. Like that, you can get mad to a point, and past that point is violence. This is why I don't understand the internet and people screaming and yelling at each other. And I'm like, why don't you just fight him? Like, why do you go through hours of yelling at someone when you guys could just meet and fight, and that would be that? And if you like want to carry on some feud, I guess you can do that. If you feel that wronged, but like I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me to expend all this emotional energy when like what you want to do is hit him. Like, but that is also a very unhealthy attitude, especially in the modern world. You can't look at things like that. Um, like you can't be in normal society and look at things like that. You have to stay at like the bottom of society where like you will remain unnoticed. Uh, and like, aren't you like trying to work on expressing emotion and being able to like express feelings? And like here you are like in the grips of like a terrible panic attack, and there's just nothing. Well, this is not a good sign. But it's nonetheless what is. um, Fear dominates the landscape of my life. And I in many ways don't even have labels for anything else. Like obviously like I can feel happy and I can feel good, but like I don't really have labels for that. And most of that is tied up in other people. Um, like I couldn't imagine feeling good about myself unless some female I had a bond with like initiates that. Like it's not something I could initiate on my own. And I suspect once again that's because like there were disturbances in my life so early, like infantile. So like the part of your brain which would like actualize things, like that never even got to that point in me. It was already disturbed as an infant. Um, I can't really go into that stuff, but I suspect that is why, because it started so young. So like the part that would be like I actualize things on my own isn't there. Um, and like I have mentioned before, like emotionally, I relate myself to those feral children that were found in the 50s and stuff. And they all came back with like, if no one taught a child to speak by the time they're like 4, then they will never be able to use words. Like they can pronounce a couple words, but they can't like structure sentences and convey themselves. And I wonder if that's like my state emotionally, and like it is just doomed. uh but that's an unhealthy attitude too. Like that could easily be misinterpretations of things, which is often, you know, there's a lot of misinterpretations. Um, there's a lot of things that I see that aren't that way necessarily. Like the perspective I have on life is misguiding this situation because everything relates back to like fear and anger. So like the only reason people would do something is like a show of dominance. So like something could be an accident, but I'm relating it to this guy trying to display dominance over me, and like that can't happen. Um, You cannot control me. I have to respond to it. But that's probably not what's happening. That's just the way my mind interprets it. A world painted by fear. And so, like I've said, obviously I'm trying to work on like being able to express emotion and like the ability to label emotion to even be able to express them is then important. You have to be able to categorize these things in some way, um, and like identify them. But how does one go about that? Like, I suppose I'm gonna have to get a book on it or something. I don't. I've never thought about it in like practical terms of like what that means. I just know fear is my world. Like even smoking pot will give me a panic attack for like the first 20 minutes I smoke. And like I'm fine with that. Uh like panic attacks are so normal. Like feeling like my heart is about to explode and like the hyperventilating. Um like at this point my breathing is so controlled that I don't hyperventilate, but I can feel that happening in my chest, like the tightness and like the like certainty that my heart is going to explode. Dude, we've been through this thousands of times. Okay, something, there was a bag blowing in the breeze and it sounded like little footsteps. So that's what caught my attention over there. But now I don't even remember what I was talking about. I know I was talking about labeling emotion and the inability to do it correctly. And like fear dominates so much of my emotional landscape. And it's almost like I view it as something outside of fear and anger has to come from outside myself. It's not something I can bring to myself. And like I said, I believe that is because of like a very juvenile mindset is still part of my brain in certain ways, that it never aged, never developed. And it it's off topic, but like I was mentioning it before, a couple, maybe last week or 2 weeks ago, like what is real, and like nothing ever feels real, and the fact that dreams often feel more real to me than reality does. Like the impact dreams will have on me is it's striking. Now, usually I take a pill so I can't dream. It's one of the only pills that I will take, because I just don't dream. Um, but occasionally I forget for a couple days and then the dreams will come back. And the last dream was I was standing in the backyard of my mom's house, the house I grew up in as a little kid. And on the roof of the house, there's this like horse, except it's not a horse. It's got a longer neck and its head is this like a snake, and it has these red eyes and there's wings, and the horse begins to fly and it moves like a snake through the air, and it's staring at me, and it's obviously very menacing. Like it is not a happy camper. Like it wants something and it wants to do something bad. um, but like, and the other one, what was the other one? uh I was in a trailer park, like this real rundown trailer park, mud, all the walkways are mud, and there's this like 1.5, 2 year old kid. I don't know ages of children, but the kid couldn't walk. It was, so the kid was still crawling. I don't know how old that would be. But like this kid is following me everywhere. And it's making me angry because I'm like, why is no one taking care of this fucking kid? Like he keeps fucking following me. And uh I'm like, Jesus, I wonder if that's almost like Freudian shit. It's like part of my brain, the child, and like it follows me. Like, no, I don't. I'd rather not think about the horse demon thing. Like that's uncomfortable. But all these things are terrible. Like the overwhelming, like emotional tone of these things is dominated by general horror. Uh, there is an overwhelming sense of fear in all these things. It's like the very air is sickly. I don't know if you've ever been in a place where like usually it goes with humidity, but the air feels sick. Uh, it's not right. It's commonly associated with death in me, but because usually when like someone that I was close to I would hear had died, it happened several times, and like the high humidity and like the air turns sick. But like that is the general vibe of all dreams, and somehow that is realer quite often. Like the impression those things make in my mind stays with me longer than most of the real stuff I interact with. And like that doesn't seem like it should be, and it's also not real, but uh they they are powerful things, and like it is still all under this banner of fear. And like I said, outside of fear the only thing is anger. And like those, that's all I have. uh and like that's very unhealthy. um like there needs to be more paint for that canvas. uh like I have to develop more things. And there's being shown things as well is often a way people learn. But like I shut everyone out. And like my only interactions are often very, very controlled. Like I said, like most of my interactions with people are based around sexuality. And it's like I've set my world unknowingly to me, like I've set my world up in this way. And it almost like uh, is still all designed around abuse. Like, my therapist once said to me, she's like, all this stuff is just you reenacting ways in which you were abused, right? I was like, no, no, I didn't know that. But now that you say it, it makes a lot of sense. Uh, and I think about that. So it's like, in a lot of ways, I'm like reenacting abuse for these women. And there is no thought given to like my own feelings or matter in this. Like I am a tool. I am a thing. It's like, ooh, that's uncomfortable as well. And most of the people I knew and hung out with, they're all dead. Like I remember this kid at work was asking me to hang out, and he was like 20 years old, and he's like, "Dude, just come smoke with me and my friends and stuff, and we'll hang out and we'll party." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm like twice your age." He's like, "Yeah, but you're cool." And I'm like, "Yeah, but dude, if the cops show up, like what's gonna happen, and like you're young enough that you could feasibly have a 16 or a 17-year-old in your group. Like I can't have that around me. Like, do you know how bad that would look? And the police already hate me and have promised to see me incarcerated for some reason. I have no idea. Well, I know why, because they think I did something I didn't do and they are very incompetent. Uh, so the fact that I was outside at the time a thing happened means I did the thing. And like, cops aren't solving crimes, they depend on snitches. And somebody told him I did it. Well, the guy that had the thing stolen from him, I happened to be by walking by his house when he noticed it, so he blames me. Um, and I actually heard him make the phone call. The police don't know that though. However, I'm getting lost in the weeds because this is about to turn into a very anti-police speech. When people have been like trying to ruin your life since you were a child for just existing, like it harbors contempt for those individuals. Uh, but I'm getting lost. I'm getting lost. See, more anger directed at the police. But nevertheless, it always relates back to fear and anger with me. Um, just like violence and sex. Like, these are like the major themes of my world. And I'm uncomfortable with that. Like, it's unhealthy. I should have more. Um, like there should be a great. I don't even know how to phrase what I mean here, but like things should be larger than that. Especially with the amount I know. Like you'd think I would have like a greater pool to draw from internally, but like everything is so simple. And it's funny because people always think I'm like very complex. In the one relationship I was in, I believe she got it. Like she saw how simple I was, uh, and could work with that. But like most people, it just doesn't connect. Um, so what I'm too different to be able to fit in their world, I suppose. Um, and so I don't really try to form connections because like it won't work. It's like putting a square thing in a round hole. It's not gonna go. There's nothing that will bridge that gap. A world painted by fear. This is going to end up being rambling and no longer even has a point. So I am ending it. Ending it. Take it for what it's worth.